Hi everybody. A while back I posted a video about a Canon 10D but really didn't go into too much detail of how the camera operated and some of its features, so that's what I intend to do in this video. The Canon 10D is a very old and very early DSLR, but it still has a lot of really great features that you see on professional cameras today. And I'll tell you, if you learn how to use all of the functions, or most of the functions on the Canon 10D, you'll be more than able to step up to a large professional camera, say for example like a Canon 5D Mark III. That being said, you may want to just stick with your 10D. It delivers such great film-like images, and you get to love this camera like right off the bat. The buttons and controls on the front of the camera are pretty simple. Starting from the right, there's a mode dial. We'll go over that in a minute. There's pop-up flash, and a lot of people disparage using pop-up flash, but I'll tell you, I use it all the time. I took this picture with a Canon 7D using pop-up flash. It really works in a pinch. Down below that is the lens release button. You just push it and twist the lens off. And below that is the depth of preview button, which I've never used on any camera I've ever owned. On the left side of the camera is, of course, the shutter release. You press it halfway down, allowing the lens to focus if you're in autofocus mode. A main dial, which controls a whole bunch of different functions, and 3 feature buttons up top that we'll go over in a minute. Here's the top of the 10D, and we'll take a look at the dials and controls from left to right. First is the mode dial. Use manual, aperture priority, and TV, which is shutter priority. That means time value on Canons. If this is your very first DSLR, maybe shoot in auto, which is a green rectangle, for a couple of hours, but then immediately go over to AV or TV mode and then go to manual. You'll be glad you did, especially if you move up to a bigger DSLR. They don't even have those modes. Next is the flash hot shoe, which is compatible with the advanced Canon flash units, which is a big benefit. Next to that is the diopter adjustment. You use this if you wear glasses like I do. Just twist it around until what you see through the viewfinder comes in focus. This is really beneficial. The little button with the light bulb below it just illuminates the LCD panel on the right. Next to that are 3 important buttons. So the autofocus white balance button, the drive ISO, and the metering mode flash compensation. Next to that is the main dial. Autofocus, drive, and metering mode are all controlled with the main dial. You press, for example, the AF button and you twiddle the main dial, and that'll change your autofocus mode from one shot to AI focus to AI servo. I usually shoot always in AI focus or AI servo mode. The quick control dial, which we'll get to in a moment, that's on the back of the camera, controls the white balance, the ISO, and flash compensation. Also, and importantly, the main dial controls the shutter in manual, aperture priority, and shutter priority modes, TV mode. You can see the modes change in the upper LCD display, so play around with these things with metering, drive, and autofocus. There's a wide range of white balance controls on this. You have auto white balance, daylight, shade, cloudy, tungsten, fluorescent, flash, and custom and color temperature. The ones you really want to pay attention to are custom and color temperature. Getting the right white balance isn't that difficult, but there's a few steps to it, and I'll have all that in a separate video going over custom and color temperature. We also talked about the drive mode being one shot, AI focus, and AI servo. Again, I usually use AI focus or AI servo. This allows the camera to instantaneously focus on a moving object. As far as metering modes go, the 10D supports evaluative metering, partial metering, and center-weighted average metering. This is a disadvantage since the 10D does not support spot metering, which you need if you really want to practice the zone system. The closest mode to spot metering on the 10D is partial metering. The buttons and dials on the 10D rear are pretty simple also. On the left there's a menu button which brings up a menu, info button which is very important when you're looking at pictures and want to see the histogram, jump button, and a direction button. I never use those two. On the bottom is a play button, and next to that is a trash button. The on-off button is right there in the center. The functional control buttons on the right are important. First, there's a quick control dial switch. Always keep this in the on position. What this does is enable the quick control dial below, and I don't really see why anybody would have this off. If it's in the off position, the quick control dial is disabled. The quick control dial is used to set white balance, ISO, and flash compensation. Also, you use it to control the aperture value in manual, aperture priority, and shutter priority modes. All the larger DSLRs, such as the 5D Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV, so on and so forth, use the mode dial and the quick control dial in combination for exposure control. You can use the assist button, for example, to switch to registered autofocus points, but I never really use this button. Here's a look at the rear LCD after the menu button's been pressed. There's some good stuff like quality, you want to keep that raw, and there's some fluff too, like for example red eye on and off. Automatic exposure bracketing, AEB, is important. Same with the white balance bracketing. Beep on and off, always keep it off. And there's also custom white balance and color temperature settings. As I said, I'll have those in a separate video. Here's just a quick sweep through the menu selections in the back. As you can see, it's pretty thorough. One thing I really want to stress is taking a look at the histogram view. You do this by pressing the info button, and if you're unfamiliar with histograms, it's the only way you can really check if you have a good exposure. If you're really unfamiliar with histograms, then you might want to check out a video I posted a while back called the Mighty DSLR Histogram. It demystifies the whole thing. They're very useful and very easy to interpret. Here's some images taken with the Canon 10D using a Canon 35mm f2.0 lens. These are unretouched images straight out of the camera. What I tend to do is I always underexpose by about a half a stop or maybe a full stop to give better color saturation. All of these images were taken in manual mode. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but there's just something special about this camera. It's such a remarkable tool that you can get close to and capture images in this beautiful world that we live in.